Welcome to Keiser Voices, the story of success, brought to you by Keiser University Graduate School, here where the academic world meets personal triumph. Join us today as we dive into the captivating tales of success.
Hi, my name is Andrea Swink. I'm a graduate student at Keiser University. Currently, I'm entering my third year as a graduate student that I'm pursuing my Ph.D. in industrial and organizational psychology. Keiser University has a wonderful program, and I am very fortunate to be a part of it. I am in my second term as a Student Government Association president for the graduate school, and I am also the treasurer for Psi-Chi Student Society. Keiser has asked me to speak to you today about mental health in the workplace, challenges and the solutions that we face. And we have drastically changed our workplace environment, our cultures, since the pandemic. Workplace challenges have dramatically changed over the last few years, but more importantly, they've changed over the last couple of decades, especially when it comes to mental health. And mental health has always been a big stigma in the workplace. And what does that mean? What does that look like today? What does that look like tomorrow? And even 5 years from now, it's going to be drastically different. How do we mitigate that stress in the workplace? How do we move forward? How do we comfort each other? And how do we create a healthy mental workplace in the environment, our cultures, and not necessarily make it home away from home? But as we all know, we spend more time at work and with the people that we work with than we do at home. So it's very important that we acknowledge that it is not a stigma anymore. It is a health benefit to be mentally healthy at work, but there's also some challenges with that. And how do we deal with that? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I hope you enjoy this session. How do we talk about mental health, and what does that entail? Mental health is been a taboo in the workplace. We've talked about that. It affects our physical health. How do we empower ourselves to address our own mental health, but be there for others in the workplace? How do you seek help? And hopefully over this session, you will feel comfortable approaching these tactics in the workplace, maybe even using them in your personal life or helping someone you know. Understand that I am not a clinical psychologist, so a lot of the stuff that I will be talking about is definitely within the workplace. But at any point, if you find yourself needing help, seek professional help, and also seek guidance from those that can help you. Mental health in the workplace in 2023 said that 76% of workers believe that their companies should be doing more to support their mental health. And if we take that, that's a lot. So if there's 10 of us in an office and 7 of us think that our owner or our supervisor should be helping us, that's a lot. So I always think of it in terms of 10. So when you're talking to, if you're watching this and you're trying to figure this out for your employees or your team or your organization, whether big or small, this can apply to anyone, anywhere. So you don't have to have an Amazon organization to apply these tactics and to understand mental health in the workplace. Another one was 78% of the workforce say that the pandemic has negatively affected their mental health. I think that that is true with everybody. I know that the pandemic, although I actively fought the mental health internally, not letting depression get to me, staying active, being part of friends and family, even though we were separated, doing those things to actively keep my mind going helped a lot in going back into the workforce being active around people. And that's hard. And we're still adjusting from that. And it's not going to happen over time. It's going to take years. It's going to take days. It's going to take months. And as we start slowly migrating back into the offices where we're not so much remote, we're going to be on campuses, we're going to be on site. We need to understand that there's going to be a time of adjustment. And if we all give each other that time, it'll work out great. 85% of the people say their mental health issues are caused by sleep deprivation. I know I suffer from that. Poor physical health, reduced happiness of some sort. Maybe you're suffering from some family issues at home. Maybe there's been a death in the family, illness. All these things are underlying factors for performance, stress, depression, mental health issues in the workplace. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're having issues ourselves. It takes somebody to point that out to us. And sometimes we don't like it, but it's always best if we have that friend or family member that says, hey, this isn't normal. This isn't your baseline. And before we jump in, I think it's important to understand what your baseline is. And when we say baseline, we mean, how do I act every day? Is this how I treat somebody every day? When I go into the office, am I always, hi, Susie, how are you? And then when I go in for a week and I'm not talking to Susie, there's something wrong. So my baseline typically is always, hi, how you doing? But I want to stop right there. When I ask somebody, how are you doing? I always try to remember to wait for the response, because that is the most important thing. Because not everybody is, I'm good, everything's okay. Because not everything's okay. We're humans. What are the most common mental health challenges faced in today's workplace? That is a loaded question. In 2021, Andrea spoke at the SHRM Expo, and she gave 5 things that she felt was challenging. I don't think that we're limited to these 5 things. I think that there's a lot more to uncover, but understanding mental health is top of the list, number 1. If you're a supervisor, if you're an owner of an organization, whether it be the guy that takes out the trash or the guy that writes the checks, it doesn't matter. We all have mental health, whether it's good or bad, negative or positive. Mental health affects every single person. So understanding mental health, and you don't have to be an expert at this. I'm not an expert at it. Your parents don't have to be expert at it. Your kids, nobody is an expert at your own mental health. But what you can do is prevent, protect, and preserve your mental health. And that's what we're going to talk about. So one of the 5 challenges was understanding mental health. Another challenge was identifying those employees who are experiencing mental health challenges. The one thing that I believe personally, that everybody should be given time. So it's always nice to comfort people when they're in a state of loss. Maybe they're grieving a loved one. Maybe they're grieving a loved one because they're having health issues. Something like that. You have to give them time. Even though they're coming to work, everything's still just not right. It's not perfect, right? It's not ideal. So I think it's important to understand that we have to give each person time, and time is something that we can't purchase. So we have to understand that. So identifying employees that are having mental health challenges, and it can be the simplest thing as I lost my pet, my confidant, my best friend, my puppy, my cat, my fish, to I was late to work today. My kids left all their lunches on the counter. I just cannot do today, you know. And so there's simple mental health challenges, and then there's complicated ones. And I think that identifying that is important. Addressing struggling employees. Sometimes it's more than just a little bit of time, you know, a grieving period or a bad morning. Sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes there's a bigger rabbit hole, and it's okay, but they just need help. And some people, their pride gets in the way. And so pride is a huge issue, right? We all have it. We don't want to ask for help, and we should. Nothing positive about toxic positivity. I will tell you that this is probably my biggest weakness, because when I go into work, I'm ready to be there. Just like when I go into class at Keiser University, I'm ready to be there, whether I'm online or I'm on campus. I am fully engaged. This is exciting. We're going to learn. We're going to do work. We're going to be a team. Everything's going to be great. So I am a bad toxic positivity person. Not everybody approaches everything like that. And I have to remember that. But I also have to know, and my mom was a great leader in this, that sometimes those people that are not toxic positivity need that hug, need that smile, need that energy, right? So it's okay. We just have to everything in balance. But not everything, not every day deserves a silver lining for every single person. And we have to remember that. And then another challenge is HR's going to increase their burden. And as an organization, owners, CEOs, CFOs, you're going to have to understand, even leaders, team leaders, managers, assistant managers, whatever the case may be, you're going to have to understand that as we have brought in mental health as part of our health outline, I guess, you know, part of it's a, you know, we're not just talking about our physical health now all the time. We're talking about our physical and mental health, that it's going to be a larger burden for HR to take on. So where you might have a organization that has made it for 50 years with 200 employees and one HR person, or maybe two. Now you might have to look at something different in the way of how that HR department is made up, what they're looking at, what they're offering, what they teach, what they provide in professional development. Those are all important sectors of workplace and mental health. So I think those are important things that you should look at as an employer. So how do they impact employees and employers? How do these challenges impact us? This is going to get, or can get, a little bit more complicated than what we want to do in this session. So I'm going to go kind of through this a little quickly, but I think we understand just by what we've talked about. The World Health Organization, which I tend to lean for references in my class structures toward the World Health Organization, the National Institute of Mental Health, National Institute of Health. Those government organizations I lean towards because, one, they do a lot of surveys, they do a lot of research. And two, it's more than just my area of where I live, and that information of just, it's much broader band. So we can get a larger picture of what we're looking at. So 15% of the working age adults that are working have a mental disorder. Now, some people will say, we're all a little crazy, you know, with using crazy as a fun term, you know. 12 billion people, 12 billion working days are lost every year to depression and anxiety alone. And without speaking to whom and when and where and everything, I used to know a person, and that person, I swear, is the the pioneer in Mental Health Day. And the reason I say that is because I was able to work for this person. And I used to travel a lot. And sometimes when you come back from traveling and you've had a 15-hour day of travel, airports and all that, that next day, going back into the office at 6 or 7 a.m. is just not functioning. You just can't function. You're just not mentally prepared. And we used to have mental health days. We still worked from home, caught up on our emails, all that, but we just got that day to rejuvenate. I think that is important. People living with severe mental health conditions often are excluded from work. And again, all this comes from the Mental Health Organization. But mental health conditions don't just impact one person. Like I said earlier, it impacts our families. It impacts teachers when we're dropping our children off to school. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's great to see you today. Johnny is full force today. Good luck, right? Well, by delivering that message, we've already given a preamp to the teacher of what we think or how we think Johnny's going to do. So we've impacted that teacher's mental health with Johnny. So we've already designed how the day's going to go. Instead of going, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, how are you doing today? I have Johnny here. Here's his coat. Here's his lunch. I hope you guys have a great day. Now, if he's been a little sick or coffee or a little upset tummy, those are things you're going to express to the teacher. But Mom and Johnny have not gotten along in the morning. Johnny's running late, throwing socks everywhere, whatever the case may be. That's between you and Johnny. That's just kids being kids. So mental health conditions in the workplace, whether we're working or we're delivering the message, can affect us, each and every person. But depression and anxiety in the loss of those 12 billion days cost the global economy, and this is in the World Health Organization, $1 trillion each year in reduced productivity. So if you think about that, and you're a 50 million company, or you're even a $1 million company, maybe you're only run $250,000 a year, whatever the case may be. Sometimes your employees call in and say, hey, I'm sick today. They're not really sick. They probably just need a mental health day. And we'll talk about that as we go on, is that's something that maybe you can work in as a benefit. Maybe your team leaders work it in, or it just depends. Every organization is different. So effects on mental health in the workplace in 2023 said that strained workplace relationships. What happens, right? Why do people have poor mental health? We've all been in a situation where we're frustrated with our employer, we're frustrated with our supervisor, frustrated with ourselves. I can't believe I missed the deadline. I always tell people, it is what it is. It's okay. It's not life or death, right? Because at the end of the day, all of this stuff in the workplace is not life or death. Because what happens is, let's say somebody passes away in your family. What's the first thing you do? You drop everything. You drop everything and you go to your family, because that's the most important thing, is our friends and our family, right? But we forget about that in our everyday interactions, in our mental health. Protect, preserve. Those are the things that we have to do to our mental health. So strained workplace relationships, workplace errors, which we just talked about, or decision making. Should I be standing over by the water fountain for 15 minutes talking about whatever the latest and greatest TV show is? Probably not. Those are poor decision making, which is going to later affect that you need those 15 minutes to produce whatever work your supervisor is expecting you to do. Declining company revenue. If you're not producing I just had a talk with somebody last night on the phone about production. And I am definitely a production kind of girl. I like to get my stuff done. I'm not a procrastinator and I like to move on. Not everybody has that mentality, and that is okay. But if you're not producing results because of your mental health for some reason, then you need to reach out to your supervisor. You need to reach out to the HR person. Maybe you don't have an HR person. Reach out to somebody that you're comfortable with. Find out how they would deal with it, but make sure that you address it, because the longer you delay getting a solution for whether it's a short-term mental health, meaning I didn't have a good day, I spilled coffee all over myself, which is a really bad day, by the way. It can affect the whole day. Or a long-term. Either way, it's important to address it. Low morale, increased risk of job flight, meaning somebody's going to leave their job or somebody else is going to leave their job. Damaged reputation and a negative brand association. And I'm going to address this as we move along in this, but I want to address some of it right now. I want everybody to understand, and please understand that as I go through, I constantly say, these are not the views of Keiser University. Some of these views are my personal views, but my personal view is that you are not the job. You are a human being, and you will be the same human being if you quit or are released from your job. So please do not ever think that you are any different, whether you're at that job or another job. You are the same person. And that is important to understand in our mental health. So as we move along, Paychex is an HR company, and they are widely known. I have experienced them on a personal and professional basis as far as human resources, payroll, stuff like that. And they did a article in 2023, April of 2023, and I thought this was very interesting. More than half of the respondents, 54%, said that they felt uncomfortable talking to their supervisors about mental health. Some even feared discussing that it could lead to them being furloughed, fired, or cost them a promotion. If they talked to them about personal issues, they were most confident in talking to their coworkers, and that's fine. But I think it's important that our managers or supervisors have the habit of addressing mental health in the workplace. Letting that, we say open door policy, what does that mean? That's a whole nother subject. But when we're talking mental health, I truly believe in the workplace, there should be no door closed. I've never felt uncomfortable except for one time in my life going to my supervisor. And when I didn't feel comfortable going to my supervisor, I went straight to HR. Don't fear those doors, because that is your key to being successful. They hired you to do a job. They want you to produce positive results, and they want the outcome to be great for you to be there, to come every day. Longevity. Organizations don't want to repeatedly train somebody and find somebody. They want to find the Andrea, they want to find the Susie or the John or whoever, and they want them to stay there forever. And in order to do that, they have to get results out of you. If you're not mentally healthy, then they're not going to get what they're doing. And all of that training and searching for your kind face and your sweet voice and the good work that you produce was for nothing. So find a door, open it, and ask to talk to somebody. Understand that your mental health is part of your self-worth. It's part of your happiness. Business leaders will always tell you that mental health will negatively impact their revenue, their profitability, their loss of a customer, their diminished output, and their competitiveness. So if I'm having a really bad month for some reason in my numbers. If I'm a salesperson or I'm a sales manager and I see my sales team is declining in numbers, why haven't we hit any numbers? What's the deal? There's something going on within that team. It's important that you address it in a positive manner. Hey, I've just looked over the numbers, maybe this, that, or the other. Remember, when you're addressing mental health, you have to address it with a positive outlook. If you come in and say, well, your attitude has been bad, that's not a positive. I just noticed that our numbers are down. Is there something that is going on within the team? Are you having any issues that I would need to know about or I can help you with? There's a better way to approach things than just your numbers are down. You're not doing a good job. So just remember, positivity, even though toxic positivity, like I have a problem with, is not always a bad thing. What are effective strategies for creating mental healthy workplace or cultures, environments? And cultures and environments are two different things. That's a whole nother topic, and we will hopefully get to that at another time. But supporting mental health in the workplace doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be complicated. I remember my best team that I had was my team that I wish I could have paid them more money. They made the least amount of money. They came to work every day and they were amazing. And that was the best team that I've ever supervised. And I felt so bad because the budget was not there to pay them more money. But we had a great environment. We had a great culture. But that's not always the case, right? So nurturing that culture helps in nurturing an employee's mental health and well-being. Benefits are great. We talk about health insurance, retirement plans, programs for employee mental health, fitness programs. A lot of the bigger companies, I use Amazon, the Walmarts of the world, any of those guys that you can go on top of the roof and run around and go down into the fitness center. And those are fantastic. Sometimes there's alternatives. Maybe if you're a owner of an organization of, let's say, 50 employees and you don't have the best health plan. I don't know what is good and bad. I'm just saying maybe it doesn't offer a gym membership. Let's just say it doesn't. Maybe you could go down to the local owner of the gym that's nearest you, whatever that gym is, and say, hey, can we work out a deal? And I pay for this benefit for my employees, whatever this benefit is. And I want to offer this. I want to do this for my employee. I guarantee you that gym owner is going to work with you. They want to say, hey, I have this organization and this is what we do for them. So it benefits everybody in the long run, whether it's business or mental health, flexible schedule, remote working. I just spoke with a lady last night and I said, are you going to be able to work from home, Annie? And she said, yes. And I said, well, that's good that they're working with you on that. That allows you to do what you need to do. And then you can still engage and not miss out on work, because those interactions in work are going to be just as important. Check in with your supervisors. We just did a speaking engagement in a session where we talked about how important it is for doctoral students to engage with their dissertation chair or even their professors. It's the same thing. It is our job as an employee to engage with our supervisors as much as the supervisors, HR, owners, to engage with the employees, to understand the career paths of each employee. Maybe that's something that you write down. That's something that a new HR division can do, is find out what they want to do. Maybe they want to be at the next level in a different division. I love the military because you can go up, and you can go over and go up and go up. I love the military for that. They don't ever keep you confined. Employee engagement, working towards goals. Hey, I know that you came up with this project. How are you looking at it? It's not something that, is normally on our radar, but you got any more thoughts on that? The last time we talked was about a month and a half ago. That engages the employee, one, that you remembered when you talked to them, two, you're interested in their idea. Maybe it doesn't go any further, but maybe you guys can collaborate on that. Confidential online communication system. We had a death in our family, and the best thing that I thought was given to us was the funeral home offered mental health services to the family members, not just ours, but I mean, just that was a service that was offered as part of the package. And I thought that that was a phenomenal resource for grieving families. You can do that for your own organization. We have telehealth therapy. I think that I got that right. I would have to go back in and look for our students, and I am a constant promoter of that in our SGA meetings, in our labs. We are constantly reassuring students it is okay to reach out to your professor. It's okay to reach out to administrators. It's okay to reach out to classmates. It's okay to reach out to me as the SGA president. It's okay to reach out to our vice president. Any organization, anybody within the community of Keiser University, but even as an alumni, and we will help. So we are constant promoters of mental health, positive mental health, getting help. I have come across organizations that have offered drug and alcohol assistance programs, counseling, in on-site counseling, off-site counseling. These are important factors that you have to look at as an organization financially, what you're going to offer, liabilities. There's a lot of things. I think that drug and alcohol counseling is a huge, huge benefit. I'm not promoting that by no means, but I know that it has helped others that I know that it has been a benefit through the organization. According to 2023 priorities for business leaders, there was a study done, and 19% of employers are extremely or very likely to start offering an employee assistance program over the next 12 months. Now, this was just done in 2023. We talked about one of those was a funeral home offering services. But we're talking about organizations, businesses, small and large, offering these opportunities starting very soon. And I think this isn't a fad. This isn't a trend that is going to go away like my Reeboks. This is something that's going to stay. Mental health has always been here. It's just since the pandemic, I think we've realized, hey, there's more to this than just us waking up happy or sad. That's not how we work as human beings. So one of the questions that I was asked was, how can a business balance the need for productivity with the need to support employee mental health? Well, I will tell you, if you remember earlier in my podcast here, that I mentioned my best group, and I wish I could say their names because I love them all, that I've ever supervised was my lowest paying group of employees. And so that proved to me early on in my career as a manager, supervisor, whatever the case was, that it really did not matter on the monetary value. Obviously, they wanted more money, but our budget, I was always very honest with them. This is my budget. This is how much I have. These are how many employees. I was always very honest with them. And I always did the best I could to offer opportunities of other ways that they could earn extra time if we had it available. So 5 ways to improve employee mental health was given by APA, which is the American Psychology Association. I am a huge APA proponent. I love apa.org. If you if you're in business, if you have an organization, it is a great way to seek out information regarding mental health. So if you have not been to their website, we use it at Keiser University. We don't use apa.org. We do in our research, but we do use APA as in the psychology department, especially as a form of writing and understanding. So that's a whole nother subject too. 5 ways to improve our mental health. Train your managers and supervisors to promote well-being, to promote mental health. I recently talked to a gentleman and he said they didn't think we were doing enough production, right? We weren't meeting what their benchmark is. And I said, well, what's their benchmark? And the gentleman's like, completely impossible to do. And I said, well, so what'd they do? They hung all our daily numbers up on this board for everybody to see every day. So every day I go in and I see this from the day before of what I did or didn't do. And so did everybody else. And I thought, that's a depleting way to promote mental health and well-being. So now that person that was talking to me wants to move on, does not want to stay within that position. I don't think that that's a good way to promote production. If you're low on production, you need to assess what's wrong. It might be a collaboration of things. It might be one thing. It might be the supervisor of that team. But to justify a number, or we all have bad days. If I was justified by a number every day, I don't know how I would feel mentally. So train your managers to promote positive health, positive well-being, increase employees' options for where, when, and how they work. Not everybody works well in a cubicle. I don't work well in a cubicle. So either put me on a team and we're going to work together at a table, or, you have to figure that out. And these are things that HR can do and assist you with in your organization. Really getting in and diving into that person. Re-examine your health insurance policies. That's important to have a good health insurance representative to come in, analyze, and see if you have drastically different employees. You have 50 employees, 25 of them are 65 and older, and then 25 of them are 30 and younger, then you have very different employees, the way they think, how they work, what they do. Do they eat? They are coffee drinkers. They like to take breaks. But more importantly, on your health insurance, that's going to make a difference. So definitely get a good representative. Listen to what your employees need. Use their feedback. I know that we have professors here. I'm a proponent of it. 360 feedback. And so use that. Use feedback from your customers. Not bad feedback is not bad feedback. A lot of people think bad feedback, oh, I'm getting criticized, I'm getting demoralized, and that's a different thing. But criticism, take it. It's good. I had a friend that did not like some of the stuff that I had outlined. I said, can you review this? Came back, and my friend was like, can we still be friends? I said, yeah. I loved it that person took the time to look that over and say, I really don't like the way this looks. This doesn't represent you. This isn't good. So take the time and try to turn that into a positive. We can't always do that. We always think people are attacking us. Just listen to what your employees are saying. Your employees are there. If they're bringing you feedback, it's because they see something needs to change potentially, or they need to improve, or they're seeing something, they're saying something. A lot of these things we tell our children, but we don't tell ourselves. So always remember that too. We tell our children to be nice, to be kind to people. But then when we go to address something, we're sometimes not nice and kind. We all do it. We're all guilty of it. But just remember, criticism is not always bad. It can provide a positive feedback. Take a critical look at the equity, diversity, and inclusions policies, companies with diverse management. I am a firm believer in this. I believe that if you have everybody thinking the same way, your growth potential is going to be slim. If you have everybody from different walks of life, there's no glass ceiling. There's nothing. There's no ceiling. All we see is the sky is the limit. And I am a true believer in that. I have walked into a company and I have said, I see one problem. And the problem was there was no diversity. And I was not happy. So I love it. I love when we all collaborate, we all get together. It just makes things fun. And you learn a lot about the person. And when we're doing that in the workforce, what do? We bring people together. And that's the point. And then our mental health, our anxiety goes down, our depression goes down. So these are all things we can look at. Be vulnerable. Go into the office. Say, hey, I need some help today. Or whatever the situation is. Model healthy behaviors. If you see somebody like me come in every morning, hi, how are you doing? Oh, this will be fun. Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, that's fantastic. I used to have a supervisor that's what she did. Everything was fabulous. And so I modeled that behavior and it became a second nature for me. I don't use fabulous all the time, but I try to keep that in my head. Build a culture of connection, check-ins. If you're not seeing a behavior from somebody, a baseline behavior, then you need to check in on them. And it's not inappropriate to say, hey, I'm just checking on you, making sure you're doing okay. Pop into their office. Hi, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm good. I'm just in this whatever case, whether you're a lawyer or doctor, whatever. Do you need some extra help? I have some extra help at the end. I have some extra time at the end of the day. They would love it. And if you can help, that's great. If not, maybe leave that door open. Maybe it's just a little extra help they need. Offer flexibility. Be inclusive in that flexibility, though. Understand what your bylaws say. Understand what your guidelines say. Make sure that when you offer things, you're not offering it to one person and not offering it to another person. Communicate more than you think. My family and friends probably get annoyed because I communicate all the time. Talk. But they always know where I stand. My boss knows where I stand. The president of Keiser University knows where I stand. It's nice to just be able to say what you mean. This is what I think, and make sure that there's no retaliation. If somebody comes in and says, hey, this isn't working for me, I think I would serve you best doing this. Don't take it as an insult. Take it as feedback and say, well, let's look at this. Let's meet about this. I don't want to pull anything really quick, but let's look at this. Modify policies, practices. Remember, the pandemic caused a lot of problems and lost a lot of lives. And remember that we had some civil unrest and we're still enduring that. So in those times, understand that it affects each of us differently. And if we go into it with that attitude, you, as an organization, an owner, leader, whatever, you're going to have a better outcome with your employees. And measure, ensure accountability. While it's nice to be nice, we can't give Julie the reins to do whatever she wants, and then everybody else has to do this. We have to be accountable. Because then what are you doing? You're wearing the mental health on your employees over here, and Julie gets to do whatever she wants to do. talk about conversations about mental health and how we approach the sensitivity and effectively do that in a professional setting. And as I spoke before, Keiser University offers students the meta teletherapy. And I think that's a very important. We talk about, like I said earlier in the podcast, you can reach out to your professors and classmates. And I have to say, I'm very fortunate that I have a large amount of classmates, professors, administration that I reach out to. I need to talk to you about this. This bothers me. And it takes a lot of confidence to do that. But if you don't have that confidence, it's okay. Remember earlier in the podcast, I said, be vulnerable. It's okay to not be okay. I think I saw that on a bumper sticker. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay not to smile. It's okay not to be happy every day. You don't have to be. But if you realize that you're having struggles, you're not going through every day with your baseline, then that's when you need to seek help. How do you talk about mental health to somebody? It's not easy. It's not easy for me to do this podcast and talk to you about mental health. But if you have a hesitation, then that's when you know, right? That's when you know it's hard and it's a taboo. So it was hard for me to even tell my parents, I want to go in and do psychology. And this is what I want to do. And I want to get my Ph.D. in this. They're going to think I'm crazy. I've lost my mind. But I did it. And the rest is history. And I also have learned over my working experience that it's okay for me to go, I'm not having a great day. And if you remember in the beginning, I say, hi, how are you doing today? And then I pause to see what that response is. Listen for the response. Listen for the response, because that's going to tell you. You can read it on people's faces. Most people will give it away, either by the tone of their voice or their look on their face. So empower yourself. For people with mental health problems, we talk about mental health problems in the workplace. We're not saying that you're schizophrenic or anything like that, any clinical issues. We're just saying we're struggling. We're having a problem. Or I'm not getting my work done. Maybe you have too much workload. Maybe your expectation of somebody on your team is way higher than it should be. Maybe you need to reassess who all's doing what on your team. These are simple things that readjust our mental health in the workplace. So be helpful to talk about it. For young people, it's different. Anybody that has been born in the last 20 years leads a completely different life, even in the last 10 years, than what we did. I'm not going to say when, but, when you're talking beyond 20 years ago, life was completely different. Beyond 10 years ago, life was completely different. And especially since the pandemic, our lives, our work, how we work, I would have never thought 20 years ago that I would have been able to go online, order all my stuff, and it's delivered the next day. Or I can pull up to a Walmart or a Target or anywhere and get my goods delivered to my car, because I don't want to get out. I don't want to engage, and I don't want to be a part of anything. Well, what we have to remember is that there's people on the other end of that have to have the mental health to make sure that you have good mental health. And that's what we're talking about, is that in the workforce, we have to be kind to each other. Parents and caregivers. I am a big proponent of our caregivers, our medical industry. God bless them. I am very, very, very in touch. I had to think in touch with caregivers, whether you're a caregiver at home or you're a care nurse, doctor, you're a caregiver for in a nursing home. That I think is so important that we realize that the mental health there has to be there. If you are a caregiver, self-care, make sure that you protect yourself, you preserve your mental health, you make strides, you express yourself to supervisors or organizations, and make sure that once you express it, then it's out there. If you don't express it, we can't address it. And I say that all the time. If you don't express it, we can't address it. So if you express it, good or bad, somebody might not like it, deliver it in a professional manner, we can address it. Friends or family members, if they're experiencing problems, maybe you can't help them, but it's affecting you. You know, when I was growing up, my mom would worry about me all the time. You know, did you get your gear to go to sports? And I know you parents are the same way. Does everybody have their stuff? Do you have their lunch? And you're sitting there and you get a call. Well, little Susie has a fever of 101. I need you to come pick her up. Okay, well, it's going to be an hour because I've got to do this work. And the mental health starts growing right then, right? Everything starts turning. And so we have to understand that. Educators, we're back in school. We're not doing online. Protect your mental health with your class. It's okay for you to take that 10 minutes or 15 minutes in the classroom and say, okay, class, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay. Community and faith leaders. I work with a lot of churches. I actually spoke with one before I got on this podcast. And I was talking to the lady at the church and I said, listen, this is what we need to do, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times I'll just pop in just to preserve myself. Sometimes if I just walk in the sanctuary, it's just boom, I get a relief. And sometimes that's all you need. And supervisors, leaders, owners understand that faith comes in all different forms, shapes, sizes, versions, and beliefs. And sometimes your employee needs that. So set guidelines for a healthy work culture. Practice self-care. I just mentioned that. Self-care, self-care, self-care. I cannot say that enough. That is eat regularly, meditate. We do not do this. I do not do this I try, but I fail every day and I get up and I do it again. Enjoy activities. I like to ride motorcycles. Go ride a motorcycle, a bicycle. Go get something physical doing. Go walking with a friend during lunch. Consider your tone of how you approach people. If you approach people in a different manner than how you would like to be approached, probably need to change our tone. So if I'm all grr, I can't even say that without smiling, then I'm not going to be listened to by whomever I'm speaking to, and they're not going to like what I have to say. So the criticism or the idea that I'm giving, which is not an idea, it's not going to be communicated well. We're not going to start off good. So just like we teach our kids, treat those how you want to be treated. Communicate often. We talked about this. Remain flexible. Prioritize your work-life balance. I love it when I walk into an organization and the first thing I see is something about work-life balance. I love it because I know that they may not always get it right. They may not, you might have to work longer one week and shorter on the next, but I know that they're trying, because if they wrote the words on the wall or they speak them immediately, I know that they're trying. Encourage team support. You can do trivia, lunchtime trivia, promote a day. We do this with our kids, but we forget to do it as adults. We forget to say, all right, team spirit day on Friday during football season. I'm a huge football fan. I get to wear my team jersey. Well, turn it into something bigger. Give back. $5 to wear your team jersey. All the money goes to whatever local charity. So that's team support. And then you might find out that your employee is an avid volunteer for that charity. or maybe they have a charity that they want to do. These are all promoting positive mental engagements. Know the signs of mental health struggles. Work habits, overall demeanor. We talked about this. Absenteeism. If you see somebody is absent more and more and more and more, especially after grieving a loved one or a friend. A lot of people don't consider friends. We don't give time off to grieve when we lose a friend. I'm closer with my friends a lot than I am with my own family, just because I'm around my friends all the time. If I lost one of my friends, it's losing my family. Who am I going to talk to? So understand that, and understand if somebody snaps at you, it's not at you. It's more than likely they're having a bad day. And let's understand that. Give them time. Say, hey, I'm going to come back. I understand that this is probably not the right time. Social withdrawal. If you see somebody social withdrawal, appetite changes, mood changes, all these things are things that we can identify. Dropping in function, problem, concentration, illogical thinking. Why would they even do that? That doesn't even make sense. And then a lot of times it's our own health, as if you have a larger, older population in your organization, there could be some underlying factors, health factors there that maybe need to be addressed. Unusual behavior and characteristic, stress, coping with stress. A lot of times I don't cope with stress well. I'm just being honest on here. Nobody sees that. It doesn't happen all the time. I have had to work at it. These are work in progress. Our mental health is a work in progress for the rest of our life, from the time we're born to the day we take our last breath. But we are constantly work in progress. Meditate, yoga, sleep, hobbies. I'm a huge proponent of volunteerism and hobbies. Find that thing that you like. Go dancing. Go, and when I say dancing, I don't know, they're line dancing or something. I don't know what people do like that, but find what you like to do that is healthy and do it. And you don't have to do it every day, but maybe once a week, once a month. Walk your dog every day. Lower that anxiety. Lower the triggers. I know that I have had, much like anybody, have had times in my life, and I actually had to embrace a time in my life where I had to engage with somebody that I didn't benefit from having in my life before that. And it was recently. And I know that I felt the whole anxiety. And then I remembered, this is a trigger. I understand. This person is temporary, not permanent. And I understand. I recognized it. So as an employer, it's important to understand your employee, but as employees, we have to understand and we have to recognize what doesn't work well. This person I haven't engaged with in years or weeks or months. I hate to say it, but at the moment, at the time that you have to engage, just get through it. And then recognize, that doesn't work well for me. And then my stress level lowered and I was able to push through everything. I recognized it. I was nervous. I was definitely nervous. Coping with depression. That is another topic, but if you know that you have depression, and everybody goes through it, I'm going to tell you my key one: sunlight. Go out, get some sunlight, get some air. And that goes for our in the office. Sit in the office, these ugly lights coming down on us. Supervisors say, hey guys, let's take a 10-minute break. Let's go out, get some sunlight. fresh air. A lot of times that helps, right? I have a friend that goes to the book club. I don't know how often that they go, but I know that they're part of the book club. And if you're suffering from grief, definitely. How can individuals protect their mental health? By striving for career advancement. Definitely have been in that situation. And sacrificing your mental health or your physical health for any career advancement, for me, is not justifiable. You cannot do that. Just be proactive. Control your narrative. I want to do this. This is my goal. But I'm not going to sacrifice this just to get here. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be worth it if you have to reconnect yourself to yourself. Focus on being yourself. The climb is easier. Don't change to reach that career advancement. Don't change yourself. Never change yourself for anything. If you want to get there, be yourself. Be that hard worker. Be that positive influence. Be that coworker that helps. Continue that stride and it will work out. But if you change yourself, then you're changing your mental health, you're changing the way you work and your production. How to care for your own mental health at work. You have to figure that out. That's not something that I can tell you or this podcast can tell you, but I can tell you that Lawrence Robinson and Melinda Smith in 2013 said, I got this off of helpguide.org. And I go out and I love reading articles. I read a lot, and that helps me lower my stress. And they said to switch off. You are not 24/7 to a job. And that is unrealistic for anybody to have that expectation at a job. That's my personal opinion, not the view of Keiser University. But switch off, recharge. Say, you know what? This is the weekend. Work phone's going off. I'm sitting on my back patio with my dog playing fetch, whatever. Practice relaxation techniques. Take care of yourself. Make sure you get sleep. I need to take my own advice and make sure that I get sleep. I have slowly changed my diet. I recognize I'm not eating like I should, and it's not providing me the mental health that I need and the nutrients that I need. Our brain needs nutrients. Regular exercise. I like to walk a lot. You want to go walk? We'll go walk. I like to do that. So take care of yourself. Find meaning and purpose in your work. Make sure that you engage with your coworkers. I'm not a big proponent of making friends at work, but we have to make friends at work, right? But we don't have to be friends all the time. So try to connect and collaborate. We talked about that earlier. And then build resiliency. I think that that's huge and important to understand that. Treat your body right, and understand that your pursuit of work-life balance does impact your mental health. So at work, set manageable goals each day. Be efficient with your time at work. Ask for flexibility. If you're coming up on Friday, it's due on Friday and it's Thursday morning, I'm going to tell you right now, if I know how long it's going to take me, I'm going to go ahead and tell my supervisor, I'm letting you know, it'll probably be end of Friday because this is a bigger project than I thought it was going to take me. And it took me a lot more time. Take 5, go out, get some sunlight, tune in, engage in the present, give yourself a break. And when you're at home, be at home, be in the present. And then last but not least, before we close, I want to let you know that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. And if you need additional mental health resources, I will see if they can put these up there in the comment section. We'll put all these up. The NORA, CDC is a great place to get that. The APA, the American Psychiatric Association Foundation. And then obviously the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Please, no life is ever worth taking. So if you need help, please call the Lifeline. Remember that you are because that you are the person of your desires, your relationships, your needs, your wants. You are working because you want to do that job and you want to be there for some reason. And I say this because it's a hard lesson to learn and embrace. If I lose my job today, if I have to exit out of school today for some reason, I am not the school and I am not the job. I am still the person that I am. I'm still Andrea. And I want you to remember that you are still who you are. You are a human being. You are fabulous. You're full of ideas, love, compassion, knowledge, skills, and abilities that you can take with you every step of every day, and understand that you are loved and you have all the resources here in this podcast to move forward as an employer, as a supervisor, as a friend, no matter where you are in your life. And I wish everybody from the Student Government Association, Keiser University Graduate School, we wish you a very happy holiday season, a happy new year, and may God always bless you.
Thank you for journeying with us today on Keiser Voices, the story of success. As we close this chapter, remember, every story has its next page.